Pags, that was a fucking awesome conversation with Listen More.
Dude, he never ceases to amaze me. It's a really good look into the life of a player after the NFL.
I was gonna say, I can't wait to edit this, put it all together, and get it out there tomorrow so everybody can listen to it before the weekend. He gave us such good shit.
Yeah, Sean's an awesome dude. He's a great friend, and I am very much appreciative of him coming on and talking with us for that much time.
I was going to say, yeah, and then we got, we're going to have Callie on after him, so somehow I got to get us talking, then Listen More, then Callie, get it all out there so that people can hear this fucking amazing show we're about to put out there.
People need to listen to this. This is a great, great, great interview with Sean Listen More and Mike Callahan, and we said it before, that was one of our best. This one might be our best.
So when I release it, though, just make sure you get it out on all the Instagram, Twitter, and, iTunes so we can share it for the people, all right?
Absolutely. 2Close2Call cast.
Yeah,
Instagram,
make sure you get it right.
And Twitter.
So, all right, cool.
Coach, you were 5-79 last year. Why the playoff talk?
Well, we made a couple of key trades, and we got the funk.
Oh, well, glory be, the funk's on me, Bobby.
Keep that funk alive. Keep that funk alive.
Well, it's 1975, and we just be keeping the funk alive.
Hello, what's going on out there? This is the 2Close2Call podcast, episode 5. I am one of your co-hosts, Miho. I am here with my boy Pags, who, as of yesterday, joined the 30-year-old club. So, was Jay-Z spot on about a decade ago when he said 30's the new 20, Pags?
Yeah, man, feel good. I started a new trend in my own head. Under 230 at 30. And I'm not going to divulge how fat I am right now because, quite frankly, I'm a little embarrassed. I'm a little too close to my 300-pound playing weight. I looked up my boy Terry Crews. He introduced me to this thing called intermittent fasting, and kind of sucks, but I feel good. I'm drinking shakes in the morning, just trying to get young again, I guess.
Well, that sounds god-awful, and I'm right around 230 pounds, so you got a little bit of a ways to go there, Pags, and I got a ways to go myself, so.
Hey, and I want to say early happy birthday to you as well. If people don't know, we
oh, thank you.
3 days apart.
That's right. By the next show on Monday, I'll be 30 just like you.
Except this time now we have kids. We're married. We don't have our Ragers at Lehigh anymore.
Yeah, dude, I was driving around Bethlehem earlier and drove past the 6 or 9, and I was like, damn, this is the weekend where we throw the going back to school party.
Those got a little out of hand.
Yeah, scaling up houses into second-story windows just so we can get keg shells and not have to pay an extra $40, which we don't have.
Dude, I freaking destroyed your house every year, and your roommates would just get so pissed at me.
It's still standing, man. I took a picture this morning.
What was it, my 21st, when I ripped down the projector screen because I was trying to slam dunk?
Yeah, I think you were alley-ooping a beer from somebody.
Oh, and then I went right into a keg stand. Those were the days of debauchery.
Oh my God, that's for sure. That's for sure. So, but in the spirit of the show, Pags, episode number 5, obviously our little tradition here, but give me your favorite number 5 of all time.
I couldn't really think of one. You know, there's Jason Kidd. I wasn't the greatest fan of his. KG, I loved him in Minnesota, but he wore number 5 in Boston. I didn't like that team either. So I'm gonna throw a little curveball at you. You ready for this?
Hit me.
I'm going outside of sports.
Okay.
I'm gonna hit you with Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars. Boom!
Strikes Back, huh? Dude, you weren't even alive when that one came out, right? That's one of the old ones, but somehow it's Episode 5, even though it was only one of 3 originally.
Well, you know, the great minds of George Lucas. He was before his time, cranked out Episode 4 and 5 and 6, and was like, you know what? These are awesome, and eventually I'm going to sell out and make movies that are not as good.
He said, listen, I'm not exactly sure how to tell the beginning of the story or the end of the story, but those middle fucking parts, I got those nailed. So we're just going to bang those out now, and then we'll figure out how to tailor it all together 30 years from now.
Exactly. Yeah, this this whole Darth Vader backstory, yeah, we'll piece it together how we go with these 4, 5, and 6 movies. And then don't even get me started on the new ones. Those ones suck.
I saw one of the two. One of the two.
Yeah, the Last Jedi makes me. I think my dad was like on the verge of jumping off a freaking bridge after watching that movie.
Yeah, I gotta catch that one on Netflix. I know it's on there. Just spend the fucking 2.5 hours and get it done.
Hey, but you can make fun of the guy all you want. The guy sold his franchise for $4 billion to Disney, so he obviously is winning in that aspect of life.
Yeah, there's a few followers of the Star Wars. So, but
yeah.
No, that's funny.
How about you?
When you say that, actually, it jogs my memory now. So, my favorite number 5 of all time is as follows.
Oh, baby!
Hit him with it, Pags. Get on the dance floor.
Oh.
Hit that dance floor.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everybody in the car, so come on, let's ride to the liquor store around the corner.
Oh my God, dude, how terrible is that song?
Me and Buzz like I had last week.
No, I know.
That was, that jam, that was a jam, but such a bad song.
I know each of our listeners now are going to be singing that for the rest of the night and the weekend, so now they're so pissed at me.
It's going to be on the playlist for the whole weekend.
Oh, no, but sports-related, number 5s, in the 2000s, 2010s, Albert Pujols in a Cardinals uniform for those 10 years, the machine, SportsCenter commercial. Albert, he just, as a baseball fan, just watching him hit over 300 with 30, 40 homers, 100-plus RBIs year after year after year, you just had to appreciate what he was doing. So not so much a fan as more of a respect thing for number 5, because obviously the only one around here is McNabb, and everybody can now move on since we got St. Nick who delivers.
Dude, remember when we were at the NFC Championship game last year, and I had Vikings fans sitting next to us, and I was like, hey, if you're going to wear a Vikings jersey, you might as well wear the Donovan jersey. Everybody hates him, and everyone will love you for wearing that.
He was loving that. He thought that was hilarious.
Oh, man. I completely forgot he even played for the Vikings. It just came to me while we were sitting there a couple beers deep at the game.
Right? Oh, my goodness. So, good transition into the storyline of the weekend. Obviously, the divisional round happening. 4 good ones going on. Pags and I are going to get into a little bit of detail around the Colts-Chiefs game here. And then later in the show, we're actually going to bring on a couple of different guests for you guys. In the middle of the show, we're going to bring on an ex-NFL player who played for the Chargers and the Cowboys. We'll get into a little bit more of his backstory and introduce him in more detail during that transition. But we figured that would be a good look into a little bit of behind the scenes and 2 teams that are playing this weekend.
Man, 2 guests? What the hell?
Yeah, following him, we're actually going to have another friend of ours, former college quarterback, Mike Callahan, who was actually in attendance down at the Superdome 2 months ago for the Saints-Eagles game. So we want to get his take on New Orleans, kind of their hospitality, and if there's going to be any differences as we head into Sunday.
Take everything this man says with a grain of salt.
He's going to be one of our better guests, so definitely look forward to that. Like I mentioned, Pags jumping right in. Colts-Chiefs. Are we going to get another one like a few years back?
I'm leaning towards the Colts. I truly think there's something up with Andy Reid where he just cannot win in Arrowhead. And this Colts team, they seem to have everything going their way. And, I mean, we had talked about Leonard and all them in the last episode. They seem to got it going, and Andrew Luck really is playing at an elite level like he was supposed to when he was coming out of Stanford. And I'm leaning hard towards the Colts.
So there's statistics to go either way, right? Like you mentioned, Andy Reid, the Chiefs haven't won an Arrowhead at home since, honestly, I think I heard...
Joe Montana was the last one to win a home playoff game for the Chiefs.
Joe Montana, and it was before Patrick Mahomes was born.
Yeah,
so
unreal.
There's that. But also, this stat's a few months old, so it may have changed this year. But Andy Reid with the Eagles and the Chiefs, when he has an extra week to prepare for an opponent, he's 16-2.
Yeah, that one was the friggin' Super Bowl against the Patriots.
One of the two, right? So
one of the two.
But when Andy gets his time and he can spend a little extra time eating as well as watching film and not having to eliminate the eating part of it, he comes up with good game plans, man.
When it is a week, he only gets a week. He doesn't eat as much, and he has time to clean his play sheet, and he can actually run the ball if he wants to. But
exactly.
Well. My question is, would we be having this conversation like saying the Colts could beat them if Kareem Hunt didn't do what he did and was on the team for the Chiefs.
That's a fair point, actually, because I forgot all the fuck about him and that. So there's a lot of people doing the same thing that are just out of sight, out of mind, and that's probably how the NFL wants it. But one seed at home, I mean, it's similar to the Eagles Saints. Why is the Colts as a 6 seed getting more respect than the Eagles? It's could go either way.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I could very well see the Chiefs, but I think I'm going to go the Colts.
Kansas City is a 5.5-point favorite in the latest odds, and the over/under is 57.
Ooh, I'm hammering the over.
That's high, man. That's 30-30. You think it gets there?
Yes.
Do you think the weather will have any impact on the game? Snow showers and 5 to 10 miles an hour is the forecast.
Obviously, it could. I know the Colts are a dome team. I mean, that could obviously have an effect on them. Where did they play last week?
Texans, that's indoor.
Yeah, but these guys are professional athletes. T.Y. Hilton is going to look fast on either one, and Tyreek Hill is going to look fast on either one. It's going to be a hell of a game. I really don't think we have a bad game this weekend.
I agree with you, man, but I think that leads into to some tough picks that we're going to have coming up here this weekend. I know we both had good weekends last weekend, but my gut's telling me it's not going to be as easy.
Yeah, I mean, you look at, you got high-profile players on each team. You got Luck, you got Mahomes, Brady, you got Rivers. You got the Cowboys defense. You got the high-powered offense of the Rams. I refuse to say Dak Prescott is a high-powered player. And then you got, there you go, Zeke. He looks like an Ewok. Star Wars reference. And then you got
full circle.
Full circle. See how these podcasts go, people? We just keep coming around in a circle.
We were forecasting earlier.
Foreshadowing. Fuck. That's the word you're looking for. Jesus, how did you graduate from Lehigh?
I'm in business mode. Forecasting. But
yeah,
fuck,
then you
Pags.
got the Birds game, which is us. We're gonna wear our heart on the sleeves for that game. You got Drew Brees and you got Super Bowl MVP.
Having said all that, Pags, give me your prediction on the Colts Chiefs. What's your pick?
Well, if we're going the line, I think it's going to be a Colts cover, and I'm going to go outright. Colts win 28-24.
Ooh, right around where I have it. I'm taking the Colts with the points, but I'm taking the Chiefs, or my favorite NFL commercial, the Chefs, straight up. I'm going.
Chefs.
Do you remember the guy was painting the end zone? And
Yep.
he literally writes the word chefs instead of Chiefs. And the guy walks by and he goes, "Who are the chefs?"
Dude, some of those ESPN commercials are just brilliant.
Right, so I'm going with the Chiefs. I'm going 31-27, putting the point total at 58, right where Vegas has it.
Oh, baby. You're hammering the over. You're taking the Colts to cover, and you got the Chiefs winning.
Correct.
Wow.
Which is why I don't gamble.
Old strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays out for them.
It absolutely is, Pags. You got that right. So, thanks for listening, everybody out there, to our first segment. Coming up now is an interview we have with former NFL player Sean Lissamore. Stay tuned.
Coach, you were 5-79 last year. Why the playoff talk?
Well, we made a couple of key trades, and we got the funk.
Sean?
Hey, what's up, brother?
Yo, you're here with me and my buddy Kev.
Hey, what's going on, Kevin?
Sean, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm pretty good. How about yourself?
Good, man. Real good. Appreciate you hopping on.
Oh, my pleasure, man. Thanks for having me on.
You're not on right now.
I say we'll get to that, but
Have you guys started interviewing people yet, or what's the deal with that?
This is our second interview. This is our 5th podcast.
Nice.
We are,
So what's the name of the podcast? Is it like football, or sports?
it's sports. It's called 2Close2Call.
Okay, I was just making sure it wasn't like an Eagles podcast or something like that.
No, we do talk about the Eagles, but yeah. Hey,
No, they're
yeah,
doing
the
pretty well
long
this year.
short of it is pretty much Pags and I both listen to Barstool and like Pat McAfee and all that shit, and we both do outside sales, so we drive around every day. So I call him and we talk bullshit for a half an hour, and one day we were like, why the hell don't we just record the stupid fucking conversations we're having anyway? And then we were like, and yeah, we'll just call one of our buddies kind of once a week, get them on and talk, whatever the hell we want to talk about. It's,
I respect that, man. That's awesome. Actually
right?
doing it too. A lot of people don't do it. They're like, yeah, we should record it, and they just never do it. So, props for actually doing it.
Yeah, and we got on iTunes like 48 hours ago earlier this week, so now we're official, man. Fucking downloadable.
Oh, it's legit. Okay, awesome, man. I'll have to stay up to date with your podcast, man.
So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you, kind of throw in a joke about the crate race there to end it all. And we're going to get into a little bit of, like, draft day shit for you, and then a little bit about your time with the Cowboys, and then just a little bit about the Chargers. And at the end, we'll just spitfire, throw some 1-minute questions to you about, like, big
Shots out of a cannon.
hilarious people in the locker room, shit like that.
Okay. All right, man. Sounds good.
Like Pags always says, we're not live. You know, it's not like
Right,
you're
man.
on Dan Patrick or whatnot. So
Callie stutters for like a minute straight at one point. We're like, Callie, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, it looks easy until you start doing it. I mean, yeah, the live ones are really tough, man. Actually, the worst is like when you're at your locker after practice and like a million reporters come up and start like hitting you with questions left and right, and like you like answer one question wrong and they focus in on that particular quote and make it a headline. You're like, motherfucker. Yeah, you have to be like, super careful all the time. So yeah, it's a pain, but I'm sure yours is gonna be pretty lighthearted. So
Yeah.
I'm ready for that.
What class are you taking?
Right now, I'm actually finishing up my master's in strategic management, so I actually have 1 more month left. And my one class is international competitive strategy, and then the other one's a leadership one. It's like a leadership strategy course. So I got those two to finish up, and I'll be done. I think the last official final day of class is February 16th, but I should be done with everything before then.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You got your MBA at Wharton, didn't you?
No, I didn't. I did a program with the.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah, it was like a graduate certificate program, and that's kind of what introduced me into this whole thing, because like I wasn't really sure if I wanted to go to grad school. You know, after like William and Mary, you're like, I really want to go back to school. And yeah, I started with that program, spent a week with them, and really loved it. And then I actually went back to William and Mary and did their graduate certificate program for business management. And I was like, well, I should get my master's.
So what the hell are you gonna do then? I guess what's the end game for you there?
Well, you know, like originally I was thinking about getting back into sports, and I interned with a company actually through the Dallas Cowboys, sports business startup. And you know, the thing about it, man, is like I enjoy sports. I mean, it's been my whole life, but I kind of want to do something different.
Sure.
And I've taken an interest in like kind of the whole aerospace industry. Possibly getting into procurement with that, possibly looking at, obviously not engineering, but I would really just love to get involved with SpaceX and all that stuff somehow. And that's an uphill battle, man.
Yeah.
There's a lot of aerospace opportunities around here, like, you know, Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, things like that, and then a bunch of smaller companies. So I'd love to start with that and then just see where it goes, because there's a lot of, I mean, I wouldn't say it's my other passion, but it's something I'm really interested in. So
well, we got the Space Force coming, right? Or what is it? Not the Air Force, the Space Force. So you could sign up for that, no problem, right?
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know if I'll be getting in the military anytime soon with my shoulders. I think they'd be like, dude, you're not fit for that. But yeah, I'm interested to see what happens with that Space Force.
That's awesome, man.
All I'm hearing is that you have like figured out way better than I do.
I really don't, man. I really don't.
I'm hearing a little bit of a plan there. Meanwhile, we're in the basement with a microphone in front of my face right now, trying to figure shit out. So
great things happen. That's how great things start, man.
All right, don't laugh at this. Here we go. It's my first time introing anybody. Ladies and gentlemen, right now on the line with us, we have a man hailing from Dumont, New Jersey. He was an All-American defensive tackle at the College of William & Mary, drafted in the 7th round by the Dallas Cowboys. He played 3 years with Dallas, then took his talents out to San Diego, where he played 3 more years with the San Diego Chargers. His claim to fame you may know as picking off RG3 in the end zone for a touchdown, but me personally I know him better as the man who slugged 15 beers in 5 minutes to help the North go south in the crate race 3 years running. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my friend and former teammate, Sean Lissamore.
yes.
Thanks for that stellar introduction, Pat.
You know,
yes.
It's the first time introing somebody, Sean. Thanks for coming.
That's awesome.
Thanks for coming on. Obviously, me and you, we've played together down at the college, and we know each other pretty well. Kev, Got any kickoff questions for Sean?
Yeah, so Sean, the first time we met, you probably don't remember, but Pags reminded me was at one of the crate races where you actually decided to join post Dallas Cowboys OTA, I believe it was, right before graduation. So I was there to witness that extraordinary entrance.
Well, you gotta hold it down for the North. I mean, we represented several years straight, so I mean, I couldn't leave them hanging.
So speaking of the Dallas Cowboys, Sean, could you take us into a little bit of what your draft day experience was, what you were expecting? Was it different than what you expected?
Yeah, it was an incredibly stressful day leading up to that. Obviously, there was a lot of training, all-star games, things of that nature, and just things to help your draft stock. In my case, I wouldn't call it my draft stock, it was just to be drafted. So on draft day, I was actually going through the defensive tackles, thinking like where I might rank as far as the draft order goes, and if this guy got drafted, could I be after him? And I was in the 7th round. I was getting calls from teams regarding an undrafted free agent deal. And I actually, personally, in my opinion, I thought the Colts were going to be the one to pull the trigger on me because they had actually come out to work me out privately at William & Mary. And I think they had some picks real late in the 7th. And, out of nowhere, I got a call from a Dallas number. And it was Jerry Jones. And he's like, Sean, we're going to put your card in and draft you. And I was like, wow, okay. I was just like,
I was going to say, Jerry Jones called you straight up, huh? That's awesome.
Yeah, straight up. So it was completely out of the blue for me, and it was awesome. And then, obviously, I talked to everyone else, and I grew up a Giants fan, so I didn't really know too much about the Cowboys. And they're like, "Well, congratulations on being drafted. The Dallas media wants to talk to you." And I'm like, "I don't know the majority of the team." So they're like asking me about this player and that player, and I'm like, trying to Google people and figure everything out. I mean, I knew some guys, obviously, but I really had to piece it together to talk to these people. So, but yeah, I mean, that happened. I was at my house in Dumont, and my family was with me, and it was just kind of a surreal experience. I mean, you celebrate for a little bit, but then you realize you got a lot of work to do because you show up there, and I mean, it's great being drafted and all, but showing up as a 7th round draft pick, I mean, you're just a glorified undrafted free agent, really.
Sure.
And
how long before your name pops up on the screen do they call you? Is it like 10 seconds beforehand, or is it 10 minutes? Like I've always wondered how quickly people know before.
I would probably say it was about a minute or so before, somewhere around there.
Relatively
it wasn't
before.
Yeah, I mean, and it could be different in the later rounds too, because it's not like as dramatic.
Sure.
Like
You're not there putting the jersey on.
Right, exactly. I didn't get the invite to New York, so I don't know why. But
was there ever a point where you're like, maybe I'll be Mr. Irrelevant?
Yeah, I actually did think about that. I think I'm trying to remember who Mr. Irrelevant was our year. I think it was a guy named Tim Toon or something like that.
The guy we played against at Weber State.
That's exactly him. Yeah. So he was Mr.
Awesome.
Irrelevant. And I thought I might have a shot at that. I thought that'd be pretty cool. I mean, whatever. But I was 234, so pretty easy to remember 234. And I was happy with that, man. I was happy just to be drafted.
What is it like just being around Jerry Jones? Because he seems like a man that kind of he's there, and whatever our Philadelphia listeners think about the guy is a beast of a money everything. What is he like in person?
He's awesome. I mean, obviously he has a presence that's just like, unbelievable. This guy that's like a legend in the NFL, and obviously the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, and it's incredible being around him. He's kind of a polarizing figure. But the thing I really appreciated about him the most was, I mean, he really cared about his players a lot. I mean, knew everyone by name. He would talk to you. He'd come up to you before the game, shake your hand, and wish you good luck and things like that. And he really cared about his players. There wasn't a disconnect there, and I think that's I'm not sure if everyone knows that about him, but he really is a player's owner,
Right.
So I enjoyed that about him. I always respected him, and I was thankful I got the opportunity to play for his team.
You never got on his bus, did you? Jerry bus that they talk about?
Oh yeah, we've been on that before.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
What's that like?
Well, I think he might have an upgraded one by now, but
Yeah, $250 million yacht. Did you see that in the news the other day?
yeah, I did. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. But his bus, I think we got on it. I think our draft class went to some sort of event. I can't really recall what it was, but we were on that bus, and I mean it's pretty sweet. So even when I was I was interning at the startup over at the new Dallas Cowboys facility, and if you guys ever get out here, you got to check that out. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's like a small town based around the Cowboys. I mean, they have restaurants, they have car dealerships, and everything's Dallas Cowboys themed. And they have office buildings. I mean, it's incredible. But anyways, they had the bus parked out in front of that all the time. So, I mean, the Cowboys, it's really incredible. I mean, obviously I live in Dallas now. It's just football is pretty much life out here. It's really an incredible thing.
In the media lately, Jason Witten has been taking a lot of heat of people calling him a robot. When he's on this ESPN Monday Night Football, what's he like as a person?
No, he's awesome. I mean, it's not easy being a color commentator like that, and especially some cases an ex-football player, you see things a certain way and you're used to dealing with media a certain way, so you're kind of trained to be that way. But he's a great leader. He was a great teammate, and I think he's doing a great job. So I mean, that's just my opinion. I mean, it's definitely not easy to talk whatever it is 3 hours straight.
Well, his issue is that his teammate, your former teammate Romo, did it so easily and kind of jumped in. I think everybody had the expectation like, oh, Romo did it, now Witten can do it, and I think it's tough throwing him in on Monday Night Football live TV, the only game on, right off the bat, and it takes time. But
it does take time, and he's going to get better at it. I mean, just it's something new to him. I mean, it's not like he did that for a living. I mean, he played ball for a long time, and obviously Romo did too. But I mean, it's going to take some time, and he'll get better. But like I said, he was always a great teammate, a great person, and he's got a great work ethic too. So I know he'll figure out a way to improve almost every game. I mean, he's just like that type of dude. So.
Well, hell, he killed the Eagles for 15 years. I know that much. Jesus Christ.
Oh, did he ever?
We didn't cover him his entire career, so not a big deal, right? Like, oh my God. But so after 3 years in Dallas, obviously I believe it was a change in management or coaching, but after signing an extension there and thinking you're kind of part of the future in the immediate future, I don't know if you get blindsided or if you kind of had a heads up with the change, but obviously you get traded to San Diego, and as Pag said in the intro, take your talents out west. So what was that kind of transition like? How was, changing your entire housing situation, living? Did they get you a hotel while you were trying to figure shit out? Because I know changing normal jobs is chaos. I can only imagine as a professional athlete what the hell it's like.
Yeah, I kind of had an idea that it was coming because it was that last game of 2012 against the Redskins, and it was a rough game. They end up firing Rob Ryan.
Okay. I remember that.
And then at that point, there was rumors that they're going to switch to a 4-3, and obviously I just spent my whole career up to that point working at 3-4 end and 3-4 nose, and it's not like I couldn't play 4-3, but I mean that's pretty much all I did at that point was learn how to 2-gap and things like that. So now all of a sudden it's changing how I'm playing, and they're going to put me at nose, and all of a sudden I'm tilting, shooting gaps and stuff, things that obviously I was doing that before, but not every play. And the transition between 3-4 to 4-3, it didn't go as smoothly as I liked. I kind of saw the writing on the wall, obviously. I ended up getting a call after final cuts saying that they're going to trade me to the San Diego Chargers. At the time, my buddy was out. He was actually about to get deployed, and we were spending the last couple of days together before he went overseas. I got the call, and it's like, yeah, you got to be in San Diego here in the next day or so. I was like,
gosh.
Okay. So, he and I were hanging out, grabbed some lunch and everything, and then I get a call from the secretary at the Chargers, and she's like, okay, how about a flight tomorrow at 9 a.m.? I'm like, what?
Oh, my goodness. That quick, huh?
I mean,
wow.
It was and it was seriously pack your bags. I packed 2 bags, and then I got on a plane, and I left Chelsea behind, and I went out to San Diego, and I was in an extended stay hotel for 2 months.
Jesus.
And pretty much show up there. They hand me a playbook. They're like, you got to learn this, and that was that. And like a week later, I'm playing the Texans. So. So it's like, they give me a couple plays. It's like, I know what plays that you can go in on, and that's really it. So I think I played like a handful of snaps against the Texans, and then from there just kept building and building. And, it's crazy. I mean,
I didn't realize how quick or how close to week one it actually was after final cuts. I had thought it was an off season or, training camp type of thing. So that's even more insane.
Yeah, no, it was insane. And then obviously I did sign an extension with Dallas, shortly before that. So, but that's just the nature of the league. I mean, you never take it personal. It's just how things go. It's a business, and you got to accept that. And it's sometimes a little tough for people to accept because they're so used to, college and high school, where you're so loyal to your team, your team's so loyal to you. But, then you get to the NFL and you still feel that way, but there's also that business aspect that can be tough to deal with sometimes.
Sure.
So you're out in San Diego, pick off RG3 for a touchdown. I remember watching Red Zone when that happened. My dad screamed to me. He's like, Sean has a touchdown. Sean has a touchdown. I was like, no way. And I came running downstairs. We were going nuts. That was awesome. I wanted to kind of get your take on the whole San Diego LA thing, and now they're playing in a soccer stadium where every away team is taking over that arena. It's like they're playing 16 road games every year. What was your take on the whole San Diego thing? How great were the fans out there? And I guess, do you feel for those fans, and do you understand why they're in LA now? Or
yeah, it was tough because I felt like we really did have a loyal fan base in San Diego, and I mean there were some issues filling the stands. I mean they had blackouts and things like that, but I think the stadium was a big issue. The stadium was pretty old, and they were trying to get a new stadium, and there's all sorts of issues with that. And then they voted on the stadium, and that didn't work out so well. But it was kind of chaotic those last 2 years I was there because that one year they said we were going to leave and then we didn't, and that was a weird feeling. And then they said we were going to leave and then we left. And I remember being in the facility when they announced it, and I was running on the treadmill, and like all these people started gathering outside in the parking lot, and like I'm like running on the treadmill watching the news, and there's people like burning jerseys, and I'm like 20 feet from them, right on the parking lot. And now I'm like a little nervous. I'm like, okay, do I really?
Yeah, what do you fucking sneak out the back door, man? What the hell's the move there?
Yeah, but I completely understand. I mean, that's their team, and
wow.
I personally didn't think it was going to happen. I really didn't believe that they were going to go to LA. I don't think a lot of people believed it. But I mean, right now, things are obviously going pretty well for them. Their venue is what it is. I mean, there's a lot of different opinions on that, but right now, I mean, you just can't argue with results. They're doing extremely well, and I mean, they got a big game coming up this weekend. So
yeah, I was going to ask about that. Do you still follow the Chargers? Obviously, we want your take on a couple games this weekend in the divisional round, but kind of specifically, I guess, are you more of a Cowboys fan now, Chargers fan, NFL fan? Do you find yourself not watching at all? I've known people who've played in the league kind of shut it off just because, hey, I did that for X number of years. Now I'm kind of moving on, and a casual fan, and others that are invested and kind of getting into, like you mentioned, some of the business side. So Pags and I were kind of talking and wanted to get your take on how you feel about, the NFL as a whole now that you're on the other side of it.
Yeah. Right off the bat, when I retired, I was watching a lot more college football. I'd watch some NFL games, but I watched a lot more college football. And this year, I've started watching specifically the Cowboys games and the Chargers games. And it's just tough to get the Chargers games out here.
Sure.
We don't really get them. We don't get them in this area. And I don't have the NFL package or anything. But so I watch pretty much all the Cowboys games out here. But the Chargers games they've been really interesting, and they're always exciting, always close games. And this past game against the Ravens, I mean, I did watch that one. I thought that was a really great game for them because obviously they got beaten by them not long before and came back and just they played lights out, especially on defense. They just shut down Lamar Jackson in that run game. And, they came out with a quarters defense and just made it, like, impossible for them to move the ball and really frustrated them. And that was an awesome game plan. It was really cool to watch that. So, I still follow the NFL, but I have more of a neutral perspective, obviously, at this point.
I wanted to get into that. You mentioned the Ravens game. Now, you come out east to Baltimore. You play a tough game. The refs try to give it to the Ravens. You fly back out.
Casual dig.
Fly back out to L.A., and then you got to fly back for New England. I guess, is that something that the media just makes up as that could be an issue, or is that a legitimate problem?
Well, I think the Chargers have been like, I'm trying to think what their record is on the road. It's something ridiculous. I think
they're undefeated.
They might have one loss.
They lost
like
in L.A. to the Rams. They haven't lost outside of L.A.
Yeah, you're right. So, I mean, if you want to consider that, yeah, they really haven't. So, I mean, that bodes pretty well for them. But I do know traveling to the East Coast, it can be difficult from the West Coast. You leave a day early, and then there's that, the catching up with the time and everything, and it can be a little challenging. And then going from obviously like usually 70-degree weather to in some cases 20, 30-degree weather, that can be challenging. But I mean, they've been outstanding on the road at this point. So I mean, it doesn't seem to bother them. So I wouldn't be too worried about it.
Have you played in Foxborough? Did you play in New England?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I played. I'm trying to think. We definitely played with the Cowboys. I remember that. We didn't win that game. And with the Chargers, I think they played in San Diego. Yeah, they did. So, and we lost that game too.
So as a man who's 0-2 against Mr. Brady, it sounds like, I guess, what would be the key if you potentially faced him a third time, a.k.a. what do you think the Chargers got to do this weekend to have a chance?
I don't think it's just a Chargers thing. I think it's like any team that plays them. This is personally the way I felt about it. You almost don't even realize you're getting beaten by them. They're just an efficient team. I mean, they do things like extremely efficient, attention to detail. And, I mean, Brady's just, he sits back there, picks you apart, dinks and dunks a little bit here and there, and makes plays. And I think, eliminating mistakes, getting pressure on him is going to be huge. Obviously, you got to stop the run too. Offensively, I mean, moving the ball. I mean, it's all the basic phases of football. But, I think just eliminating errors is like a big thing with them because they take advantage of mistakes that you make. I mean, they love to capitalize on that. So, and, Belichick's, he's a great mind, and he finds your weaknesses and tries to expose them. So it's almost like a chess game. You got to figure out what he's thinking he's going to do and, try to figure out a way to outsmart him with that as well. So it's a really, like I said, an efficient team. I mean, obviously, I haven't figured out the solution because I've never won against them either. But
it's been 15 years, man. Nobody's figured it out, so don't feel bad.
Yeah. I feel like you almost like I'm using the Super Bowl last year as an example. You feel like you have to either outscore them or you need to make Brady's life a living hell the entire game. Otherwise, if he settles in like you did, you have to be able to score them like the Eagles did last year, or you got to get to them because they, like you said, they're so efficient. It's insane.
Pressure is huge. I mean, if you can get pressure on him, on any quarterback, that is. I mean, obviously, that's going to change the game a lot. And the Chargers did a great job last week with that. I can't remember how many sacks they had, but I mean, it was like almost every other play. It seemed like they were getting in the backfield and disrupting the quarterback. So, I mean, if they can do that this weekend, and they'll be in good shape.
Ingram and Bosa are animals.
Yeah, they're doing a heck of a job.
3 of the games are this weekend in probably the toughest. I would say people would probably rank them in the top 5 places to play. Have you had games I'm sure you had games in Arrowhead, but in New Orleans and said Foxborough, which one of those would you say is probably the toughest of the places to play in?
Arrowhead's pretty tough. I mean, I'm saying that I played there quite a few times. I have not played in New Orleans. I played the Saints a few times, but I've always played them at home. So it just kind of worked out that way. I think the one game that we did play there, I was on IR or something like that. I would say probably Arrowhead's probably one of the toughest ones. I mean, Foxborough is difficult too, but Arrowhead gets really, really loud. I mean, that place is rocking.
It's unbelievable that they haven't won a playoff game there since Joe Montana was quarterback. It seems like it is a tough place to play. Everyone says it's a tough place to play, but for some reason, Andy Reid can't figure out how to win a playoff game there.
Yeah. I have no idea. I got no answer for that either. But I mean, it's just it really is a cool place. I really didn't follow the Chiefs much growing up. And obviously getting out into the AFC West and everything, and being in that conference, I got a chance to play, against the Broncos and out in Oakland, which is always an experience too. And and then obviously the Chiefs. But I mean, all those stadiums have their own unique feel. But I would say I would probably say Arrowhead's probably the loudest. It's close between them and probably Denver.
So now we're going to end this with a couple of spitfire questions at you. Give us a quick answer. Kev, you want to start with that?
Yeah, sure. Like Pac said, 1 to 2 sentences, kind of first thoughts here. First question. This one's actually from my wife. When I told her we were speaking, she wanted to ask a question. But best and worst part about training camp in the NFL?
I would say the worst part, I'll start with the worst part. Worst part is the dog days. That's like right when you're in like the middle of camp. You don't really see any light at the end of the tunnel. You're full pads. I mean, your body's just absolutely killing you. You're just like, you're in the ice tubs every day, just trying to stay pretty much alive.
Sure.
And and then you got to, at that point, you got to start getting ready for a preseason game too. So that's tough. And you'd have a preseason game, then obviously, especially when you're a younger guy, you play like a whole game, and then you got to come back and practice almost like the next day. So I would say that's definitely the worst part. And I'd say the best part of training camp is the day after final cuts, because that's you want to consider that part of training camp, but that's
sure.
Everything you did was worth it. And that's a crazy time. You went, my first training camp, my rookie year, we played in the Hall of Fame game. So we had 5 preseason games. So we started especially early, and we went from San Antonio, then we went to Oxnard, California, and we traveled like our whole weight room with us and everything like that. It was crazy. And we spent it was like a 6-week training camp. It felt like, I couldn't tell you exactly what it was, but it felt like forever. And then as a rookie, you're taking all the reps, doing all the special teams, you're doing practices before the practice. It's insane. And then you get to that point where it's like final cuts, and to be honest with you, I'm hoping to make the practice squad at least, and
right.
I'm sitting there, and one by one, people are getting brought into the coach's office around you, and guys that are your friends and teammates and everything like that. And it's, you feel awful, and you're sitting there, and it's over, and you're like, have I made the team? And I remember walking out of the facility, and I made the team, and I was like, holy shit.
It's amazing nobody tells you make the team, right? They only tell you don't make the team.
Yeah, pretty much. I think they might have said don't screw it up. But,
Yeah.
But,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, so next question. Biggest or coolest purchase you made as now an NFL player, first, second contract, house, boat, parents type of thing. What was the most lavish expense you had?
The most lavish expense was a I think it was a 1986 Ford F-250 I bought for $800.
$800.
No, I'm serious about this. Obviously it's not the most lavish, but I did buy this. I bought that pickup truck, and I spray painted it black. It had marker lights on it, and had a Peterbilt sign welded to the front of it. And it was a type of truck you put it in reverse and starts beeping. It was a mess. It was a mess. And I think I put a bed sheet on the inside to cover the seats and all that stuff.
Oh.
My wife was not a huge fan of that one, but no, it was awesome. I kind of got a kick out of it, because I remember the one
right up your alley.
Yeah, I remember the one day it's raining out. I was at the Cowboys facility, and I drove it there, and some guy's like, "Hey, it's raining out. You left your windows open." I'm like, "Oh, don't worry about it." Meanwhile, it's next to a Bentley.
Right. Okay, that's what I was thinking, more along the lines, right? But it sounds like you're more of a fix it up yourself kind of guy, so I can respect that for sure.
I'll be honest. I bought some cars and stuff, because I love cars and everything. But that one stands out to me. I had a lot of fun with that.
Who's the funniest teammate you've played with in the NFL? Cowboys, Chargers, whoever.
That's a tough question. There's been a lot of fun guys. Especially in the defensive line, you get some really funny dudes. But I guess most recently, Ricardo Matthews with the Chargers. He was one of the funniest dudes. He just always has people laughing. Always has people he's always joking. Just a great sense of humor. And we still talk to him to this day. Exact same attitude. So. Most of his humor, I probably can't repeat some of it, but funny dude, man. A great personality.
Well, I was going to ask you that. Do you stay in touch with a lot of the guys that you've you've played with over the years?
Yeah, for sure. I try to keep in contact with a lot of them. Obviously, I still talk to Kendall and Kendall Reyes and Corey Legit and guys like that. So, and then even when I was training to get back out into the NFL after I was done with the Chargers, I was working at Exos over here, and there was a bunch of guys that I played with from the Cowboys and some from the Chargers too. So, I keep in contact with them. They live out here, and it's kind of it's cool to keep in contact with those guys. I mean, we were teammates and everything. It's just like when you play college football, like you and I and stuff. When we see each other and stuff, we try to talk about old times and all that. So nothing really changes.
For sure. I want to thank you for coming on. How's little Jack doing? Everybody, family good?
Yeah, no, he's doing awesome. Actually, yesterday he caught his first football.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I tossed it to him and he caught it. I was like, oh man, there you go.
So you think it's skill position already for him, huh? Right? Doesn't want to bang with the uglies down there like you and Pags?
I don't know. I think our sons are destined for the line.
We had them together a couple weeks ago. They're definitely destined for O-line, D-line is my guess.
Oh, fantastic.
Well, Sean, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it. You're going to be a reoccurring guest for us now, and we wish you nothing but the best of luck with everything, with school and all that. And thanks for coming on.
Hey, my pleasure, and happy birthday, man.
Hey, thank you.
All right, guys, have a good night.
Hey, Sean, take care.
Coach, you were 5-79 last year. Why the playoff talk?
Well, we made a couple of key trades, and we got the funk.
Now joining us is a former quarterback and former teammate of Pags from the William and Mary tribe, a gentleman who came to the tribe courtesy of Hempfield High in Mountville, PA, where Mike Callahan set career records for passing yards of 4,159 and touchdown passes of 44. He then decided to work his way on as a walk-on onto William and Mary because he enjoyed the academic side of the university. Apparently the kid fucking actually went to college. But he then worked on the scout team a few different years and developed into the fifth-year senior starting quarterback, where he led the tribe to a playoff appearance.
The first number one ranking in William Mary history.
First number one ranking. Oh, baby. Tell me more. What year was that? Your senior year, Pags. Your junior year?
2010. It was the first time in the history of William and Mary football that they were ever ranked number one in the country.
So this is a big deal, listeners. Okay, we're getting this guy on the podcast for you.
Pags and Miho, what up?
That's it, man. That's it. So, hey, how was it fondling Pags' balls for 12 weeks out of the year?
It was great. Pags was one of the best.
Did you guys ever have any quarterback center exchanges?
One or two. Pags? First of all, I'd like to say that I didn't give up a single sack for Callie that entire year. And
hashtag humble brag.
He would let me hear it if I even got a little bit of pressure on him, because he's only fucking 6. He's 6 foot and he needs all the fucking help he can get. Courtesy of my escape ability, are we forgetting Georgia Southern and that kid that slam moved you? That was the one I was thinking of. That was actually the story. You're like, are you going to block? And I go, I fucking got it, Callie.
Amazing. So, well, that's awesome, Callie. Congratulations. That's a fucking phenomenal collegiate career. The real reason why you're on the 2Close2Call podcast today is because you were, I say fortunate enough, but I use that term loosely, to have a in-person vantage point of the ass-kicking courtesy of the Saints to the Eagles a couple months ago.
Yeah, that's an understatement. Our good friend Joe Brady, shout out William and Mary. He's an assistant coach for the New Orleans Saints. He hooked up my dad and I with sideline passes for the game. Don't be shouting him out. He didn't even want to come on. He's scared of the birds. He's a little scared of the birds, but I'll tell you what, it was an absolute beatdown. We didn't stand a chance. Carson was all over the place. We couldn't block anyone. Receivers weren't catching the ball. Outside of Josh Adams' long touchdown run in the first quarter, it wasn't even worth our time. And Miho, small disclaimer with all this, they changed the game. They flexed it from 1 o'clock to 4:30. My dad and I couldn't change our flight, so I really only saw the first quarter in person. the rest we watched from the airport.
Yo, it turned out to be a good move, man.
It turned out to be a blessing. That's right. Yeah. The fans were going ballistic. All week, Joe Brady was saying,
Super Bowl caliber team, Super Bowl caliber attitude, with a Super Bowl caliber heart. They're not going to roll over and die. He was preaching that to the team. He was telling me and the old man this whenever he was walking us around the facility. It was super awesome. But yeah, I mean, they came out, laid the wood to us. The offense just flat out didn't show up. Clearly, the defense didn't. I mean, I'm a little worried going into the game.
Well, that makes one of us, Callie, because I've been listening to Go Birds podcast. I've been listening to all the people around here, and some reason I was on the same wavelength as you. As soon as the game ended, I'm like, oh shit, we gotta play New Orleans. Now I'm thinking, I think we actually have a pretty good chance of winning this game. I think we have a legitimate shot at winning this game.
I mean, courtesy of Nick Foles, though. You know, at the time,
great.
I mean, at the time we were banged up. We had no offensive line. We couldn't block a soul. Carson was being Carson this year and holding the ball for entirely too long, and we just weren't clicking. But you know, the one thing that I'm personally worried about, the Metrodome, it is outrageously loud.
It's a Superdome, Callie. It's a Superdome.
We're not playing in old school Minnesota.
Oh, shit. Yeah, good call. Anyway, the Metrodome.
The Superdome.
The Superdome.
You said it was super awesome at the
All right,
Metrodome.
everybody pause and hit the Superdome, Callie.
Dude, are we live right now? I'm so fucking confused.
Good thing we're not. This is why we're not. Takes like this.
Takes like this. Anyway, the Superdome is incredibly loud, and these fans are ballistic the entire time. I mean, frankly, I'm worried about the noise. I like keep having flashbacks to Reggie Bush and that hit, and I'm anxious for our defense and Malcolm to get out there and go kill people.
So you mentioned the noise. As a quarterback and center, Pags, you could touch on this too, but I'm sure you guys played in a hostile environment or two. Does that lend itself to a silent snap count? How does that work with protection up front? How do they make sure Nick Foles stays upright when you can't hear a fucking thing?
For the O-line's sake, you can communicate with your guys. It's going to be on the quarterback and the center kind of not syncing up if they are going silent count, the center's going to have to throw them through a loop. Because, Callie, I don't know if you remember Carolina. Carolina caught us a couple times blitzing down the A-gap because I kind of got into a rhythm of the knee got lifted, I'm heads up, and I'm snapping. And those guys are picking up on that. I guarantee the Saints guys are picking up on that. So they're going to have to change when he's clapping or however they do it. They're going to have to really change it up.
So what do you do as a quarterback, Callie? Do you have any – because we always see Brandon Brooks hit Kelsey on the ass. Does that mean anything?
Yeah, Brandon Brooks is looking at Foles.
So that means he's ready. Guess. You can go whenever
and
after
Kelsey's
I touch you.
Kelsey's probably calling the scheme, and then Brandon Brooks is letting him know, hey, Foles, lift his knee, you snap it whenever.
And Foles is communicating with the skill positions.
That's exactly what I think. I mean, a great example that I actually just saw this past weekend, Phillip Rivers put on a clinic. I don't know if you watched the Baltimore game, but he got Baltimore to jump off sides a couple times at home, lifting the leg. He sped up his clap count right towards the end. Then the center turned his head. They paused, and Baltimore jumped off sides 2 or 3 times on key down. Each team has something different. I know when Pags and I were playing at ODU, I mean, it was the leg. We did the clap. We did all that stuff. There's certainly a system for it.
Honestly, my only take with crowd noise is if things start snowballing. That's when the noise really – if they're moving and they're making first downs and stuff, you don't really recognize the noise. And granted, I've never played in a place like the Superdome, but if you're rolling, you're kind of like, all right, we're used to this. But it's when you get down and like 48-7, I'm sure it sounded like a freaking nightmare in there.
So, Callie, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question off of Pags is there, talking about getting out to a solid start and being a quarterback. So, obviously, when Wentz was in, our first 15 scripted plays were not going well. We had 0 points in the first quarter of how many fucking games in a row, right? So Nick Foles comes in. Even last week against the top defense in the NFL, we get 3 points on our first drive, convert a few third downs, settle in, look a hell of a lot better. What's the difference in your opinion? Is it scheme? Is it Foles making the right reads? Why have they been more successful early in games under Foles as opposed to Wentz from a quarterback's perspective?
Foles gets rid of the football. If you watch him in the pocket, he takes 2-3 steps. He's in rhythm. He reads 1-2, bam, throwing. Wentz, he has the tendency, because he's so athletic, because he can extend the play, he likes to hold the ball sometimes. He lets the pressure get around him. He's not letting it jump off his hand, getting rid of it in rhythm. When you hold the ball like that and you take a sack, the sacks are drive killers. And in my opinion, the stuff that I'm seeing with Foles, he's just smooth. He's making quick decisions. He's getting rid of the ball, and he's letting the playmakers make plays.
I think he has a really short memory, too. I think Wentz, when he does have the bad throws, I feel like he tends to dwell on it, and Foles just looks like he doesn't give a shit. He's like, all right, I'm on to the next one.
I completely agree. When I was in Pee Wee coming up through, all the quarterback camps, half the camp was for drills, throwing motion, all that stuff, or the other piece of the camp was for the mental side. And one of the things they always preached was putting each bad throw in a box. So anytime you throw a pick, put it in a box. Completely agree with you. Foles, that red zone turnover in Chicago was freaking horrendous. Horrendous. He gave away points. And, he comes out there the next drive, takes us right back down the field.
How stubborn can coaches be in staying committed to those first scripted plays? Because I'm thinking again back to the Bears game where the Eagles ran 2 screen plays early in the game. One was successful, and the second one should have been successful right around the goal line had, I think it was Smallwood again, not run into like the only guy that was there. But we never saw a screen pass again for the entire game. So is that something that Dougie just went away from because of the flow of the game? Or is that something that says, hey, these are the play calls, whether it's 3rd and 12 or 2nd and 1, these are the first 12 we're running through, if we're 3 and out or if we're in a 10-play drive?
I've always wondered that myself, and I would love to hear the perspective of a Joe Brady, of a DJ Mango. Someone that's actually calling the plays. In my experience, when we were at William & Mary, Laycock would stick to those first 10 no matter what, because each play was a different formation, it had different motions. He wanted to see how the defense was going to react and line up to each different formation and motion, so he could go back on that later in the game. I'm sure there's some translation with Dougie.
Setting things up for later in the game.
Exactly. For later in the game, he's just, he's making mental notes.
No, it's a good answer.
Is that a cat or a baby?
Shut that baby
That's
up.
my son.
Shut that baby up.
Is that James?
Yeah.
What up, King James?
So, Cal, you had mentioned me after that trip to New Orleans that, the crowd is crazy, but you told me that when you were on the streets of New Orleans, it really felt like a Philadelphia crowd there. There was Eagles chants and all that shit going on. What, do you think Philly could take over again?
I can all but guarantee it. It started on the plane at the airport. We had a Friday night flight, direct flight out of BWI down to New Orleans. It was 75% Eagles fans, 75% Eagles jerseys. There was legitimate Eagles chants on the plane. The Southwest employees were loving it. The second we touched down, there was an Eagles chant in the airport, walking to get our Uber, all up and down Bourbon Street, all around town. It was wild. And Miho brought up a good point when we were texting later that week after the game. Anytime the away schedule comes out, you're going to look at the games. Yeah, we're going to go to New Orleans. It's warmer, regardless of the time of year. We're going to go to L.A. It's warmer. But I was still taken back by, just the amount of them. It was awesome.
What do you think is going to be a key to pull off the upset Sunday since we're 9-point dogs, biggest on the weekend?
We're 9-point dogs right now?
8.5, 9.
We were a 6-point dog against Chicago, against the number 1 defense in the league. Clemson was a 5.5-point dog. It was crazy. I'm obviously worried about Breeze and Ingram and Kamara, and Mike Thomas, who's a stud. But, to me, the key is going to be offensively. Are we going to be able to score with these guys and keep up with them? Without a doubt, we're going to need to put up 28 points. The defense, per usual, it's going to be the same song and dance with us, bend but don't break. I mean, Breeze is going to walk up and down the field. It's just a matter of when we get in the red zone, can we hold him, and can our defensive line put him in the dirt? I like how Brooks is playing. I love how Timmy Jernigan with his all gold teeth is playing. I obviously love Fletch. Speaking of Jernigan, I actually heard a hilarious story about him today.
What happened?
So a coworker's brother-in-law is the trainer for the Philadelphia Eagles. Jernigan actually, he doesn't have a grill. He has actual gold teeth. He sent them. They got formed specific to his mouth. They're actual solid gold teeth. So he's amazing. He's coming to play on Sunday. You bet your ass he will be in the backfield and he will be causing ruckus. And I mean, to me, the key is Foles. I mean, let's see what he does. I mean, hopefully, no turnovers this week. Hopefully, he can put in another Minnesota performance, a New England performance. I mean, if we turn the ball over and give Breeze more opportunities, I think it's going to be tough. But I'm hopeful.
What's your prediction?
I'm going 33-29 Philly, baby.
Oh, I love it.
What are your keys, Pags? What do we need to look for?
I think it's going to be what I said last week, turnovers. We can't be going down, like Callie said, we're going to have to put up points. We can't be throwing turnovers in the red zone. And we got to create something. We were 0-3 last week with turnover game, and that needs to change or it's going to be a long game. That being said, I think it's going to be 31-27 Birds.
So you guys are both going Birds, huh?
Hey, man, it's something about the city. It's something about the vibe right now. I mean, Malcolm's got those boys playing, and we're ready.
So allow me to be Debbie Downer for a moment, shall you?
No.
Allow me to fucking talk some sense back into you people, okay?
No.
All right, so the keys to the game are obviously the uglies, the trenches. The only way the Eagles have a chance is if, like you said, the defensive line gets after Breeze, makes him uncomfortable, and if the offensive line can run the football. I mean, they tried last week, but they still only averaged about 2 yards a carry. So if we average 2 yards a carry again this Sunday, there's no way they're going to win the football game because they're not going to be able to run the clock. They're not going to be able to keep Breeze off the field. They're not going to be able to do all the things you need to do to be a grade A quarterback. So my two keys are being able to run the football, whether it's Smallwood, Adams, or Sproles. And honestly, I think it's going to be one of those games where they're going to need a special teams play. They're going to need a blocked field goal, a punt return, a kickoff return. Somebody whose name is not a household name is going to have to make a play for him to win this game. Having said all of that, I'm taking the Saints, given the points. I'm going 31-20 New Orleans.
Oh, fuck you, Miho. You sad sack of shit. Don't host this podcast from freaking Bethlehem and pick New Orleans?
Bro, I'm indifferent. I'm telling the truth, son. I'm telling the truth. The Birds can do it. It's going to be a competitive football game. There's no way it's going to be 48-7 again. But I said 3 weeks ago, after they got past Houston, I said, listen, if they get in, they're going to beat the Bears. But Drew Brees doesn't lose at home in the playoffs. So, yeah, bet the house, throw everything you have, hit the water boy. Can't hold anything back now, but I don't think it's going to work, man.
Okay. I can respect that.
I can't wait to tell you you're wrong on Monday.
I love it. I love it. So, but Callie, we appreciate you joining us, man, giving us your perspective from the quarterback position and some insight from being down at the Metrodome. Apparently, that's where you were. So, but
the Superdome.
The Superdome. But anyway, so hey, we appreciate you coming on, man. We'll talk to you soon. Keep killing it out there. We love you.
Thanks, Miho. Thanks for having me. It was a blast.
You got it, man. We'll see you.
Coach, you were 5-79 last year. Why the playoff talk?
Well, we made a couple of key trades, and we got the funk.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. That's our show today. As always, please remember to subscribe and follow us on social media on our Instagram and Twitter handle. The number 2, the word close. The number 2, the word call, and the word cast. So it's 2Close2Call cast, as well as, like we mentioned in the podcast, we're now on iTunes. On your iPhone, go to the search bar, type in 2Close2Call, all one word. Will pop up right there. Give us a click. Please click subscribe. Give us a 5-star rating. Help us out a little bit. But we really hope you enjoyed today's show, and have a great weekend, everyone.